Hello, welcome back to another episode of Somewhere Between a Film and TV podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Daniel Parr.
And I'm Erwin Trejo.
And number one, thank you so much for listening and watching. Number two, what are they going to do?
They're going to like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. Erwin, what is it that we are reviewing?
Magazine Dreams.
Magazine Dreams, starring, and yes, we do have to address this pretty quickly, Jonathan Majors. This is not a review of any of the things outside of the movie itself and his performance. We will say we understand that there are certain things about this actor. We'll just address it, like multiple assault allegations and things like that. And I do actually kind of want to talk about this movie's original release strategy.
Yeah, that's so weird.
And that at the time, before we get in the movie itself, I just want to talk about this because it's really interesting to me. This movie absolutely would have been on the Best Picture circuit a couple of years ago, right?
Best Actor for sure.
And it is, I'll get into the performance itself when we actually review it, but like, of course, we cannot comment on like all the things. It sounds like he legit confessed to this stuff and that shit's terrible. So from there, who knows? But like outside of that, imagine botching your career so hard when you had a Marvel contract.
Even that though, it's like so many movies that he had like beforehand and then just planned out.
Yeah.
And for all that stuff that he did just to be taken away.
I remember
the show.
Like
your actions matter, guys.
Your actions do matter, and it's not like you can just go to. From what I understand, he's always like a lot of people had a comment about whenever he went to school for acting that he was kind of the same. Like he was really like
like all that stuff came out too.
Yeah,
he went to like drama school or like at Yale or something.
Yeah, and then like there were all these other things that came out about him. But I do also want to address this because this movie does talk about it. It's pretty topical when some of the stuff he's accused of is very much depicted on screen. And
that did not help.
I could not stop thinking about the concept of steroids and like roid rage because it is shown in here, along with a lot of depictions of like, you know, mental health and a lot of things that like obviously this guy's going through something outside of just his hyper obsession. But the movie itself, that's what we're going to talk about from here on out. And then it's so shitty to say, like the performance here is really great. And like and,
wait, let me talk. Okay, Magazine Dreams.
Yeah, what's it about?
Okay, Magazine Dreams is about this bodybuilder who's trying to get his IFBB pro card, and that's basically like this international bodybuilding organization. Yeah. And just because that's his dreams, he looks up to it, and eventually he admires this one bodybuilder, and
I kept wanting to call him by his actual name.
Yeah, same. But basically, you just see through his like life. Like day to day what he's doing, and like basically see like this endless cycle of him, like, you know, his passions, his drug abuse, mental illness, and it's just all these issues like around
endless cycles. Good. Yeah
dude, that's why I looked at you and I was like, oh,
nice.
But yes.
So, yes. And another thing I want to address, we're probably going to get off topic a little bit because this movie does also tie into another one of our hobbies and passions.
Steroids. We love steroids.
Whatever. Are you on steroids? I'm like, do I seriously look like... Thank you for that compliment, but no. Like, I don't even look like...
It would suck if I was on steroids right now.
Yeah. For that amount of money? Also, I don't know where to get that.
I'm pretty sure it's easy to get.
Also,
you can buy it online.
Also, if I looked like this and I was on steroids, I'm like, nah, I'm not doing it right.
No, dude, it would suck. At the end, it's a genetic game. At the end of the day,
it pretty much is. But alongside all of that, I do want to ask you with this movie, and I have a feeling got the same opinion.
Yes.
Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or are you somewhere between?
I loved it.
It's pretty great, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty good movie, guys. It really is.
I loved it. For as much as I complain about movies feeling like other movies sometimes, it's Taxi Driver, it's Joker. If Joker was obsessed with being a bodybuilder instead of being a stand-up comedian.
It just has a different niche, and especially if you can connect, or you can understand or connect to that world that he's in. Yeah. Then, you're going to love this movie.
There is a hyper obsession to it. Yes. There is that audio on TikTok right now of all the dudes with the gym edits from that scene from Invincible that unfortunately...
Oh my god.
Where it's like, oh, I'm so lonely.
Yeah.
this
all the Viltrumites are scared of me. And I'm like, guys, you spoiled. Like, I haven't seen season 3. I haven't seen
season 2 or 3. Like,
yeah.
But I'm like, yes. What it reminded me of, though, is like this sort of scene that, like, if Jonathan Majors' character in this knew how to make a TikTok, because that is something that is talked about in this.
He made a video.
Ooh. Where we'll get to it, dude. But if he knew how to edit and all that, he'd be making shit like that.
Yeah.
And yes, this movie, it does have a pretty broad concept of like, it tackles, he has pretty much every mental illness. He's got like the school shooter thing down, the like incel vibe thing
body
down. Body dysmorphia, which like just goes to show how heavily that can affect you when he looks like that.
Yeah. Especially in this movie, it definitely tackles the issues that bodybuilding itself has too. Because I think a lot of people, what they take away from this, or just from bodybuilding itself, is for sure like the steroid abuse, but they don't talk a lot too about like the mental issues that people have, especially since sometimes it is like a lonely sport, and you can see that through this movie.
There is a dedication to that, and yes, it is basically someone dedicating themselves to, it's their body, right? And that can be isolating because, of course, you like end up having this weird relationship with food, and that is, I thought, really well depicted in this.
Yes.
In particular, I did really think that the people that wrote this and directed this, absolutely, they probably consulted with bodybuilders as well, considering the people that are in this, to figure out what that felt like. Because it felt so authentic and it felt so genuinely realized to me.
Yeah.
But then something I really loved about this movie, we haven't even started talking about like positive and negatives and everything, but the reason why I found it so cringe in a good way and uncomfortable was that it used this idea of magical realism in the sense of we're taught that there's kind of a disconnect from reality.
Oh, yes.
For me, there are moments in this movie where Jonathan Majors' character gets away with some stuff he absolutely should not have been able to get away with. He should have been arrested. People keep breaking him back out of, not like, actually,
or not just letting him
go back out.
Yes.
And we never see the girl he goes on a date with again after that moment.
Yes.
And that I thought was entirely intentional.
Like, he idolized her too, and just like had these like ideas of her, and when he finally had the chance to go on a date with her, he himself like ruined those chances for himself.
Almost immediately.
Yes.
So like, to me, the reason why it used that so well is because typically with movies like that, like let's say Spirited Away, it's the first thing that came out of the top of my head, but it uses that to make you feel like you're kind of enchanted in like a separate world. You want to see that
kind of makes you see like his lenses through that world.
Here, to me, you feel stuck and isolated and alone because that's his reality. It's not necessarily like our reality, but it's his, because he's in pretty much every frame of this.
Yes.
We follow him the whole time. What I also loved about it a lot, the initial setup, is it does take a little bit of time to get going because you see his daily routine, his ins and outs, what he's doing over and over and over. And only for that scene where he first initially goes to that first competition to get placed, what was it, like 6th?
Yeah.
And that was out of 6, right?
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, not many people get 6th. And it's like he's the only person, like, the only 6 people there.
Pretty much got like last, so.
Yeah. What specifically did you like about this so much?
I think what I loved about this movie was, for sure, Jonathan Majors' performance in this movie. He definitely, it's something that I haven't seen him do before too. And the way he depicts a guy who relies so much on this sport just for him to live day to day as well, because they talk about his past, how his parents both like died.
Yeah, and the way that's brought up is...
the way they died too was not great as well. And so him using this sport as a way to basically have his purpose, because he talked about that too, right? Where it's just talking about his purpose, what he wants to like leave a legacy, he wants to be remembered, and he felt that way through the magazines of the bodybuilders that he was reading and idolizing. So I thought that was great as well. And the way that they also talking about like the issues that comes along with bodybuilding.
Yeah, a lot of the body dysmorphia, a lot of that. We're gonna talk about like the letters he's writing and stuff, but there's so much stuff here, and like obviously it's kind of something. I know people sometimes critique Joker, for example, for being like, let's say, deep, but then they don't feel that way about it. This to me also felt like it is going for a sort of statement on that kind of culture, and I know that sometimes I agree with the people that like say that some of those TikToks kind of verge on the sense of like, I don't think it's that serious, man. But for some people, they do feel that way about it. And
I think this is when you just cut yourself so like by yourself and put yourself in a situation where you're like, I need to be alone, or like I have to be alone, or like which is literally not true.
Which is not true. I know a guy like that. You know a guy like that.
I think we know a lot of people like that.
Yeah.
I think it's just like ashamed.
Yeah.
And or embarrassed too, so they feel like they have to be secluded to themselves.
Yeah, but specifically the person, like let's say, because there are people you meet at the gym that are like this, and they say like, oh, I gotta cut people out of my life that way I can focus on. And then you're like, well, so what do you do outside of like the gym? Because you are there for max, like let's say two and a half hours, probably
maybe 3.
Yeah, if you're like you know, if you're doing intense like German volume training or something like that.
Yeah,
but they're like, I gotta remove all the pleasures of my life, and then like this is it. And I'm like,
this is the only pleasure I'll ever get.
And you're like, man, you know, you can like, well, here's something I learned: you can eat something unhealthy like once a week and be okay.
You'll be fine, man.
Yeah, and I did really like that it shows this sort of such a dedication and a passion, almost to the verge. Like this movie also reminded me of Whiplash.
Oh yeah, I get that.
In the sense of like you are pummeling yourself.
Because I mean. He brought up a good Jonathan Majors character brought up the fact that like the sport alone is only one of the few sports around where it's 24/7 type thing, and they definitely made you feel that way throughout this whole movie, where he's constantly thinking about it, constantly feeling the emotions of like the sport does to himself, and like him spraying this feeling throughout the entire movie too. So,
and it doesn't necessarily help that this character we're introduced to has who knows what kind of past. I'm gonna be honest with you, the implications of the beginning of this movie where he's in that therapy room and they're like talking about how he was like, did you make this phone call that you're going to, you called this person, you said that you're going to split their brain open and like drink it like soup or whatever it was. Almost to me, I know that this movie kind of ends on like a bit of a hopeful note. Did it not ring true that it feel like this could also be a cycle of his, and
that's
then
what I was
like
thinking.
it's just the same thing again and again and again for him over and over?
Well, that's how it is when people use steroids.
Yeah, but like he does the whole like I'm throwing everything away, which by the way, I don't think I was thinking.
I threw a needle in there.
I was like, you can't flush that; that'd get stuck.
Yeah. I was like, it's not gonna go down the pipeline.
But then this character though, he's not the smartest, and so I kind of figured that. He seems so sheltered at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, for example, the reason why I use magical realism, like the bodybuilder he looks up to in this movie, there's a whole show for him, and all he's doing is posing for people for like who knows how long.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, I'm sure that there's meet and greets for people like Chris Bumstead.
Yeah.
I'm like, but I don't think he's doing that. I don't think he's like going to.
Yeah, I don't know, like having separate shows. Just okay, you don't think people would pay?
They absolutely would.
That's what I'm saying. I think
there'd have to be
there's
like
definitely an audience, and I think the person who portrays Michael Hearn.
Yeah.
The way he portrays himself, I'm pretty sure there is like a group of people who would do it just because he is like what people would say a genetic anomaly.
That dude's crazy. Yeah.
It's just for his age.
Yeah.
It's insane. And I think that's where like a lot of the issues lie or underlie too. Where the fact that like people like that, they typically don't even talk about the fact that they use stuff like that. Or talk about like, I'm just blessed to have this. They always say it's like, well, if you worked harder, you would have this stuff that I have too.
That does kind of bring me to a critique just about like Hollywood in general.
Yes.
Like, you can work out so hard.
Yeah.
But they're never going to say.
Yeah.
In just in terms of that.
That and it's like that even doesn't have to come from like working out too. It's also the like fame.
Yeah.
Right? People say, "Oh, well, I got famous because I worked hard, I auditioned." It's like, yeah, but like you're also a Nepo baby. And I'm like, or you knew these people.
Yeah.
So it made it easier for you to grow.
Yeah.
At like your fame.
Yeah.
Right? And so like you also gotta be aware of that. Like no one's taking away like the hard work that you put in.
People always say like it takes a person to know a person to get into like a specific industry. And honestly that's true for literally anything.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes down to something like Hollywood or like I don't know what the bodybuilding scene is like just in terms of like that specific kind of thing, because that is kind of like its own sort of, people kind of got to come out of nowhere, but you do have to know people in order to get into stuff like that. And tying back into this though, I do also think that there are so many separate, like it kind of felt like events happening where he's given a kind of opportunity to be like, maybe I can, like this thing can go well, and he constantly fumbles it, like each and every turn he gets. But I don't know if there's a specific moment like that stood out to you.
Oh, like he got away with it, or just
not got away with it, it's more kind of like, for example, for me there's two moments that really stand out to me where he's just making the wrong choice. And,
yeah, I know what you mean. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of them is whenever this is essentially like a repercussion of whenever he trashes a store from earlier. He gets beat in the middle of his lawn, like broad daylight. You can even see cars going in the background, which I thought was like very intentional. And just like not paying attention.
Yeah, that, and it's just like he talks about it too, where to the therapist.
Yeah.
Where it's like he hates the fact that he's not surrounded by any like healthy grocery stores. Oh, he has to drive super far.
There's a moment where he sounds so paranoid, where he's like, "They make me carry unhealthy food for them," and she's like, "Who's they?" And I was like, "Oh my god!" But they come back and like he's so driven, he's so determined that he still shows up to this competition like beaten essentially. And then of course there's the whole like, I'm really curious what his character was thinking when he looked up that he went viral for. Like he looked up bodybuilder passes out at show, and it had a bunch of views. One of the few times where I was hoping like a movie would pay off the comment thing back to earlier and show the comments, but it didn't do it. I was like, damn it. I was like, I wanted to know what those were gonna say.
Yeah, whenever he posted himself.
Yeah, like, can we talk about that?
Oh, okay.
Because
that, I think it just really shows that, guys, you can post yourself whenever you like. Don't be ashamed of it. But the comments were hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
It goes to show, like, I mean, we very rarely, like, I mean, I don't want to speak like that into existence. We don't get hate comments all that much.
Not yet.
No, we've gotten what, 2 max, and one of them was like, stupid.
I like that one.
Yeah. Sorry.
Dang it, guys.
Like, no, it's like
actually A24 is the distributor.
No, it's like, darn it, Cum Slut A24 didn't like my post.
Why would Cum Slut say that about us?
Like, no. Then you just feel,
you guys should never review movies.
You just feel bad because then like then you're like, Chode 2.4 inch didn't like our video, so you're like,
that's
man.
big.
What?
Alright, continue.
But no, like there are so many isolated moments where like you feel bad. You feel really bad for this character. And I know the way they depict this specific guy, it shows on the camera that the video he was recording for 3.5 hours. I have a feeling that character didn't edit anything out and just posted it, right? Like I got that vibe that he didn't know how. And he was also filming on an old camera.
Yeah, that's true. I wonder, what year do you think that was? Honestly, it looks like early 2000s, right?
I couldn't figure out if this was supposed to take place in modern times. Yeah. Just that he has really outdated technology, because he's watching stuff on like VHS. But then again,
I could think of the fact that he's probably poor. Too, and because he talks about like the area that he lives in, that he just feels so. What is the word I'm looking for? Like, he feels like he has such bad luck in terms of like where he is in like in life, and especially like where he is, like how he's living and where he's living too.
What was really interesting about this character though to me is he didn't have that thing of like, oh, I was dealt a bad hands in life. He was more like, I'm trying to get the thing that I want, but he only wanted that one thing.
Yes, he put all of his eggs in one basket.
And then he ate all of his eggs.
He ate all of his eggs.
Because he sure as hell is like eating a ton of them.
Ugh.
But no, and then like his one drive is also to support his grandpa.
Yes.
And like him working at that grocery store. But like the whole thing about the video is like you can just see because like YouTube still was around at that point, like because it's a plot point in the movie where you can see the inkling of where this guy could be successful. You just understand also he has no idea how to do this.
No,
he has no support. I felt so bad when he looked up, like he kept on asking questions to Google, like one of them was like how to make people like you.
Yes.
And
or like I think because they showed this like scene a couple of times where he was watching porn
and just watching it.
He was just watching it like while eating and drinking or whatever. But
part of me was wondering, like, did he not get that? Was there like a disconnect? Because he thought that one girl was beautiful.
I think it's just the fact that he watches it for the same, like, you know, to feel like some type of stimulus.
Yeah.
Too, just because, like, of course, like taking steroids or maybe like the lack of intimacy.
Yeah,
you can get to that.
That's not the only time they show that in the movie either, though. They show it like that's his routine.
Yeah.
And then eventually there is a payoff to his kind of like sort of sexual deprivation, whatever you want to call it, when he does go and talks to a prostitute or sex worker, whatever you want to call it. And
he talks about his body first.
Yeah, and then he's like, do you like my body? Yeah. And it was at that point where you hear those stories about people that work in that industry where they're like, honestly, most of these guys, they just want to talk.
I thought the same thing too.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, that sounds like that one thing where
where people say that.
Yeah.
And literally, like, the only thing he's asking is like, do you like my
do you my shoulders are so big? Or whenever he asks Brad or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Brad Vanderhorn, I think it was.
Brad Vanderhorn, which is that's such a bodybuilder name.
Dude.
That's
and
a
then
great name.
he goes, what do you think about my shoulders? He's like, dude, your shoulders are big.
And then you realize it's because he's like,
and then he just wanted him.
Yeah,
he just wanted to have sex with him.
Yeah. So honestly, like, he's like, you are my biggest fan, right? And I was like, I need.
Yeah. After that, I was just like, okay.
They didn't show any of it, but I figured like that's where that was heading in the first place.
And then he gets.
Because like, I'm sorry, anybody, if you get any of those letters, if you got any of those letters from anybody, you'd be like, who is this?
Yes.
I would like a restraining order from this person.
Like, or just not acknowledge it whatsoever.
Yeah. So you're like, so did you notice also he doesn't even acknowledge the letters until he gets a picture of him, because he says, I attached a picture of what I look like.
Oh yeah.
In one of them. So I was like, oh, he did. It's like, so that kind of implies something really douchey about the guy he looks up to.
Yeah.
It's that he was like reading all of them and just chose to not answer any of them.
Yeah.
I would have answered the guy by the time. It would be like, are you ignoring me? Like, because you realize, I thought the internal monologue with the narration was pretty smart.
Yes.
It was a really smart way to get into his head instead of just
and like to let us know like what he's thinking too.
Yeah. But by the time it gets to like my legs will not grow. I was like, dude,
anytime it was just talking about himself, like his physicality too, I could not stop laughing as well. But just because of the amount of times like that's just very cringy, and like hearing other people say it as a joke doesn't help as well.
It's interesting because like there's such a gym culture, right? Like, as we understand it, and like there's like memes you make about like people that do say stuff like this. Watching it with someone in a serious context, I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever actually seen this happen. Yeah, but obviously a joke stems from a truth, right? So I think what just like felt particularly like interesting about this movie to me is, I'm like, you kind of look around at like where you work out, right? And you're like, some of these people might actually be like this guy. Yeah. And I mean, hopefully not, you know, where this kind of veers off into the second half, but I hope not. Man. But I also felt like, not in a bad way, that the second half kind of changes the issues he's having a little bit.
I think, like, you mean like it lowers the quality for you? Or
no, it was more like, I wasn't anticipating it to get into the shooter territory of things, but I did not mind it. I thought that...
I'm glad like it didn't go anything further, to be honest, because then I think it would have taken the point away from like what the message was from this movie. But for me, I think that it was a bit too long.
That section of it?
Yeah, I mean, just like the ending.
Oh.
I think it went on a bit too longer than it needed to be.
It kind of kept going a little bit,
yeah,
right?
because I'm like, you already made your points, and it just kept going and going and going, which is nice to see, but at the same time, like, hey, like, you didn't need all this extra stuff. Not that I didn't mind it. Yeah. It was just like, maybe if they just cut a little bit out.
Honestly, like, I can see what you mean, because by the time it gets to, like, him envisioning himself shooting the bodybuilder, and then if it would have just went to the next thing of, like, him realizing to not do it, and then the whole thing where he's posing by himself, and then that was the movie, that'd probably be like... That's how I thought the movie was going to end, and that was it. But then, no, it's like I'm a changed man. I'm not going to shoot anybody, and then it's like all this additional stuff. I didn't mind it either. None of it was bad. It just kind of kept the movie going for an additional, like, 15, 20 minutes? Yeah. But I thought the deconstruction, just a lot of, like, the types of characters like this, it's one of the... I'm not going to say accurate. I don't know his mindset that well. But, like, just I thought it was very humane. Like, I could see a real person going through events like this. Yeah. And... Oh, what's her name? The one that used to look like Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, Haley Bennett?
Haley Bennett. Yeah. I like a lot in this as well. I was kind of curious about what the point was, because he still works that job. Yeah. Does she, like...
Well, they work opposites, so...
Yeah, I wonder if they're... say that. I wonder if they were like, oh, because I thought that was going to lead to somewhere even worse, where he was going to be like, why did you leave? Mm-hmm. They never go that route with it. So it kind of makes you wonder. But
then he probably felt ashamed. That's why he feels so... I think that's why he's, like, so secluded, too, because of choices that he's made. Yeah. And it's just, like, it pushes them back even further.
And one thing I want to address, just because, like, this is just a very us on a cheat day thing, is when he orders all that food. Oh, my God. Where I was like... Whenever he's ordering all that stuff and she's right there, I'm like, dude, you gotta, like... There's a time and place for this, and... There's a time and place for a lot of this stuff.
But he just went on a rant talking about the Olympia and, like, his goal and, like, how no one's going to stop me. I'm going to be a champion. And I'm just like, bro, you just met her.
we were talking about this. We were like, look, if you were having a genuine conversation about fitness with a person and that person went off on that after a little bit of talking about that, it's a bit more in place. Yeah. But after you just told your first date, by the way, that your mom and dad died and in the way that they did, and then you go off on that, and you're, like, not even looking at her directly in the eyes, and you're just like...
You're like...
yeah, then she's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Also, go to the bathroom. Doesn't show up again.
Also, I knew that, like, what they were going for whenever he first shows up, because he's dressed really nice at, like, a random-ass, like, Chili's-looking type place. Yeah. And it's just... This guy, you can tell that everything he's learned about being a human is from online. Yeah, online and movies, probably, if he's watched any. Yeah, it looks like
he just watches the 1990s Olympias.
Something I found so interesting about this character is I'm like, did he... It felt like he didn't grow up. It felt like it's just been this guy.
He's been stuck at that same age.
Yeah, I do feel like that's also intentional, though, to feel like, where'd this guy come from? How did he end up like this? Yeah. And
did they ever talk about, like, what exactly, like, got him into bodybuilding, or is it just something that he just or, like, one day he just saw and that was it?
They just kind of say that they're like, it was inspired by men's health magazines, and, like, I like the whole motif of, like, I don't even know if I ever saw the trailer for this movie. I'm sure it's in the trailer. It sounds like such a trailer thing to add, where it's like, one day I'm gonna be up there on those magazines, and I think so. I think the title's pretty great. I love the title of the movie, but overall, like, I just thought that there's so much to love here. It is a tough watch, though. Like, it's intentionally cringy.
There's some moments that laugh, but
in an awkward way.
Yeah, but after a while, though, you're just like, oh, I just need this to stop.
Yeah, you're like, is this going to get better? And not really. Like, is there a favorite moment for you in this?
I would say whenever he meets up he meets that guy again who beats him up at the diner. Yeah. And he just starts to go off at everybody, and like especially at his kids did not drink soda. Yeah. Then he himself proceeds to drink that soda.
Yeah.
And then he starts calling everyone's name.
He's like ugly, everyone, fat, short.
Yeah. Bald. Dude, I was like, whoa.
There's a moment in this that we have not brought up because you said a lot happens in this. A lot happens in this movie.
Yes.
Because this character's acting, I'm not gonna say as a villain, but he's straight up on like antagonist shit for a while. Yeah. This is one of those people, if you saw the looks he was making and you saw a person in public like this, I'd be like, fuck no. And then I'd walk.
Oh, with the grandma?
Anything.
Or whenever his mouth was bleeding and he sees a grandma.
Oh, he starts smiling? Like, dude, I laughed so hard, actually. And then he does the, like, the... But, no, that... And, like, I'm just saying, like, no, there's a moment where he's just walking, he's, like, really angry. I was like, I would avoid that guy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't go near him. And
or whenever he gets beaten up and he still drives to the competition.
Yeah, that.
And he's like trying to get ready and he screams at everybody.
Here's something about that moment that I really want to point out in this movie. People do stop to help him.
Yes.
People like were willing to, but no. Like so there are moments where he's given a chance to like he could have gone about that differently. A couple of people could have stopped him, could have been like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Maybe could have gotten him clean, and yes, he would have been bruised, and that probably would have driven this specific character insane.
Yeah.
Because he kept saying, he's like, I can't have scars, because he's dealing with a tumor, and like,
yeah.
And that's not even something we brought up yet. And,
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of
bodybuilders can't have scars.
I will say it's actually kind of a negative of mine, is that plot point is abandoned.
Yeah.
By the end of the movie, he still has a tumor.
I don't think it's a negative in my eyes, though.
Yeah.
Just because I think it just goes to show that to him it's a little thing.
Yeah.
Right? He's just throwing it behind, even though to us it's like, dude, that's a fucking that's something huge. Why aren't you taking care of it?
No, but like the movie ends on the quote unquote hopeful note that it ends on. You're like, I think this guy might be dead within a year after the events of this movie take place. Or
I think what you said earlier too, where he just cycles back on and does the same thing over again, and you're back into the therapy sessions.
This is one of those movies where, like, I did like that it kind of, in my own opinion, had an open ending of what kind of viewer are you and what did you get out of this?
Yeah.
For me, I would love it if this character changed his pace and, like, became just dedicated without the usage of a cycle. But, however, we were just shown 2 hours of evidence that it's going to be like a week before he goes straight back
into again.
Because everything that is an inconvenience to him, he gets pissed and then takes it out on, like, himself. Before he takes it out on anybody.
Yeah.
And then takes it out on everybody. But mostly, he, like, will go to the store, buy, like, 30 cheeseburgers, and then...
Ooh, that sounds so good.
It does sound awesome. And then eat all of them, and then beat himself up for it.
Yeah.
But alongside that, I do feel like my favorite moment in this movie is... out of nowhere, almost. There's a guy that we start following for a couple minutes where you're like, who is this? And then you walk into his house, and then Jonathan Major's character is, like, standing there.
Yeah.
Did you forget this happened? Like,
I remember, but I forgot it, like...
No, I forgot it happened until, like, we were talking about it. Because I was like, genuinely, the movie just straight changed for a couple minutes. And I was like, who is this?
Because this was before he, like, or before he goes and, like, shoots, like, Brad.
Yeah.
Or, like, before he, like, shoots.
Yeah, before he, like, imagines it.
Yeah.
And then... you're wondering,
like,
does this guy, did we see him earlier?
Yeah, I thought the same thing too. I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah, and then sure enough, it's like do you remember me? And this is the guy that told him that his deltoids were too small. And then, like, the tangent he goes off on where he's like, that's 3 muscle groups, so quite frankly, that's insulting. And he just turns into, like, American Psycho for...
tells him to, like, take off his clothes and to start posing.
And then I'm sure that's, like, cathartic for him, and then he gets nothing out of it, really.
Yeah.
And then leaves. And it's
really... he wanted to make him feel something, too.
Yeah. Honestly, it's maybe the most uncomfortable scene in the movie if we're trying to figure out what is the most uncomfortable scene in the movie.
That's uncomfortable for me, for sure. I'm trying to think what other, like, uncomfortable things happen in this movie.
That, the date,
yeah. I think there's just, like, a lot of, like, silence.
Yeah.
Where between him and, like, somebody else that just happened, and it's just because of something that he's either said or done, where I'm like, wow, I did not expect him to say that.
Yeah. No, it's because you're waiting for a natural reaction.
Yes.
But this guy's not that. No. And
everything will always correlate back to bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Of some sort.
No, and then you're kind of like, you feel bad because then you're like, that's all this guy knows. It's obviously like it's hyperfixation. He's kind of got to find someone else that also has that.
Yeah.
But it's literally is one thing. Like even some of the bodybuilders that are shown in this probably have other interests and like other things that they know how to talk about. This is his world though. This is it for him.
Yeah.
And I did like that one of his own personal character growth things at the end is that he changed the bodybuilders to be multiple different ones instead of just the one guy.
Yeah.
I thought that was like, I was like, I bet in that guy's head he's probably like, man, I'm growing so much.
Yeah. I did like the end where he puts a poster of himself.
I thought that there was something really great about that because honestly, that dude's physique I mean, I feel like it's worth mentioning.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And
it's great.
Especially for an actor.
Mm-hmm.
But then I learned that apparently he did get a lot of training from bodybuilders for this movie specifically.
Yeah.
It made me wonder how long he'd been doing that for this specifically because he was also doing it for Creed 3 as well.
That's true. I mean, he looked like he's just been very in that that type of shape for the longest time. So.
Yeah, I mean, since he's started, as far as we're aware, started acting, right? But I have to watch that HBO show that he was in. Well, I don't have to, but I like just for...
Which one was like Dear White People?
No. That's I saw some of that. He's not in that. It's like a Lovecraft Country, I think, is what it is.
It's like a radio show host type of thing, or no?
No, I'm well, actually, I'm gonna ask you because we haven't even started on this. Do you have any negatives with this?
I think besides what I said earlier, where I think it just went on a bit too long.
Yeah.
Because after it made its points of him like changing, and I guess where it could have ended where he's just imagining himself on that stage with the lights and everything, and him just posing. That would have been great to where it ended, but it just kept going, which is just more of like, here's more of the conclusion of like what he's gonna, what he's doing and like what he's gonna do.
It definitely like made all of its points.
Yes.
Like I thought it was kind of funny because it, for a movie as sort of, I'm not fragmented just in terms of showing his literal cycle, like you said.
I would love to know too, with like Haley Bennett's character, what she thought about that whole experience of like her meeting him and like him going on that tangent. And what she felt, and like what she thought of it.
I know that this is entirely supposed to be from his perspective.
Yes.
But if they would have done like a, I don't know, Spider-Man 2.1 thing where like Mary Jane Watson's at the store with like when she's shopping and she's like, what do you think? And then she's like, I don't know. And then like we just got one scene of her like, oh, how'd that date go? And she's like, I don't know.
I don't know.
I would have been totally cool with that.
Yeah,
like
that would have been
wanted
great.
to break away for like 1 second. Just to see, and
because that's the only things I could think of were, like as a negatives.
Yeah, for me, I guess just the one thing I brought up is it felt like too big a plot point to ignore, but maybe that's the point.
Yeah,
is he kind of because this is all his perspective, so everything messy about it is kind of just his thought process, isn't it? Like this guy. I bet there's a moment that happens in this movie that we're both forgetting because so much happens in this. Because
he went to the hospital twice.
Yeah.
And he left too.
I like that he like sneaks out.
Yeah, every time.
Point. Yeah.
But like I guess what we said though, it's like so much happened in this movie too.
And there's a point also where he is extended more help from the therapist, where she's like, "How'd that girl like? How's that going?" And he's like, "That's my girlfriend now." And you can tell that she's like she knows he's lying based off of her facial expressions because she's just like
his demeanor too. Like it's just
also this is random. I really liked his NASCAR jacket he was wearing throughout like the entire movie. I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, honestly, that's like my one negative.
Yeah.
I thought that this was pretty great. I mean, it sucks about, real life, but
oh yeah. I forgot about that.
The movie itself though, if you can tolerate a movie this dark and grim and also show some stuff that the actor himself is accused of doing.
Yeah.
It's already tough to sit through, but I highly recommend it.
Highly recommend watching that movie.
Yeah. Overall, what's your score?
Probably 4 out of 5.
Yeah. I wanted to give it, damn. I don't know why I don't know what's preventing me because I'm also giving it a 4 out of 5, right?
Yeah.
But I'm like, this feels like a 4.5, but I don't know what's not. maybe it's just.
I think for me, it's just the fact that a lot of the points that I was making, it was very repetitive.
Yeah, and that's okay, but
which is fine. But like, I think, of course, like it just shows you different ways of how that point was being made.
Yeah.
But of him just losing it and like seeing the consequences of his actions and everything unfold. But it's just you keep seeing that over and over again in the movie, and you're just being entertained by the fact of like it happening again and again and again, and just getting worse.
I will say this movie's entire case in point of like, we're talking about how movies have repeated themes. Just complained about it with Death of a Unicorn. It goes to show that as long as you have something interesting to say in an interesting way, doesn't matter how repetitive or how much you've heard it, can still be done, can still be really effective, and that's exactly what I thought of this. Because it is like a bunch of different movies. It, like I said, Whiplash, Joker, Taxi Driver. I'm sure there's more out there that haven't even been mentioned. But yeah, what are they gonna do?
They're gonna like, comment, and subscribe.
Please do. What did you think of Magazine Dreams? If you're if you're one of the 800 theaters that got this, it's not a lot. Damn. I'm surprised we had it actually.
I mean, there was only like a few showtimes too.
Yeah, we got the small theater.
Yeah.
Which makes, I mean, it's not being marketed at all. I know why.
Yeah.
But it's not being marketed at all.
Talk about the way the movie was released though.
So this is interesting. Originally, this movie is from what, like 2023?
Yes, 2 years ago.
And originally premiered at Sundance, got rave reviews. Was like, everybody was like, this is gonna be a big deal. This is gonna be in the Best Picture contender, Best Actor, best literally everything. And of course, we all know what happened. And so this movie, no one wanted to touch it. No one wanted to pick this up. I can't even remember the studio that did pick this up. I'd never heard of them before.
Well, I think Catch Up.
No, that's the other ones that keep doing that. It'd be random if they did this. No, they seem to specialize in abandoned Looney Tunes movies.
I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for that.
Oh, thank God.
And outside of, they also produced that Hellboy movie that nobody saw.
Oh, that's
the one from last year.
Dude, why'd you say that?
I'm just because I happen to be reading about it. No, not that one. Not David Harbour. The one that you don't even know about that came out last year. There's one that came out last year.
That came out last year?
Yeah, The Crooked Man.
Hellboy?
Yeah.
Hellboy.
Yes. That Hellboy, yeah.
Dude, there's no way.
I'll show you later.
Okay.
Yes. That I'm proving my point.
Yeah. I was like, the fact that I didn't even hear that. Oh.
Yeah. But so, eventually someone decided to pick this up. I know that Jonathan Majors PR is trying to get him back on like he's a changed man thing. Goes to show, I mean, we're not going to comment on any of that, but I know that that's what they're doing. And so this is released in 800 theaters total. I thought it was going to be on digital first. It sounds like they managed to get it a theatrical distribution.
How? I don't know.
Yeah, it's so interesting though. Like, you keep thinking about it. I'm like, if that stuff never would have happened, who knows what? I feel like this would have been like distributed by A24 or Neon or something.
Oh, Neon for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you have somehow seen this, if it got to you, what did you think of it? Not Erwin. What did they think of it?
Yes.
But what are they gonna do?
Like, comment, and subscribe again.
Please do. And what's up next?
I don't know.
Minecraft.
Yes.
Minecraft is up next. Are you excited?
I think I'll be excited the moment the movie starts.
I'm looking forward to
Guys,
that movie.
I love Jack Black, so...
I love Jack Black and Jason Momoa.
Yes.
And there's other people in that.
I forgot her name, but she was in Orange is the New Black.
Who?
I don't remember her
name.
name.
Is that who that is?
Yeah.
Oh.
But she was also in another movie, too, but I don't remember what.
I think she's in something I've seen. I just don't know what either.
Yeah. Oh, Peacemaker.
That's
right.
She was
also in Peacemaker.
She's great in that.
Yeah.
That's okay. Also, I love Jared Hess. Nacho Libre is one of the best movies ever made. Saying that right now. And I love Napoleon Dynamite.
Hey, that movie's also great.
Yeah. So that's why I told you, I was like, if it has that same sense of humor, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, we're golden.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about Minecraft.
Yeah. You played the game, though.
I've played the mobile game once.
You didn't play, like, the actual game?
No.
Oh.
I've never touched Minecraft outside of that.
I've played, like, the game itself, but I haven't played, like, any of, like, the new updates and everything lately.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But, like, I'm aware of, like, about it too.
No, so like when I see fan service where it's like the chicken jockey or whatever, I don't know what that means. I'll do my research. Yeah. I'll figure it out before we
just watch like 10,000 hours of
There's
Minecraft
a whole
gameplay.
Fucking ton of Minecraft stuff to get through.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I don't have to be picky about what.
I'm not, but I'm also not a big like Minecraft person as well. I do enjoy the game though. The game is fun.
I love Lego sets and some of the Lego Minecraft stuff looks cool. That's what I can say. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching. We will see you next time.